Hello, good morning or good evening, whatever time you have. This time itself, it's not so clear. It's 4 a.m. here in Mequon, Wisconsin. I was just waking up to prepare the Torah reading, and I was overcome with a feeling I need to express some thoughts on our Jewish-Christian conflict resolution. This will be our 18th lesson. I had two things happen this week to bring out today's lesson. One is from feedback somebody shared with me from our Facebook friends, or maybe it was YouTube. He was upset. I'm trying to resolve things. There have been so many people, so much effort put into resolving, to making peace with all the interfaith councils, and they've been working on these things. And who am I? I'm going to come and I realized that I did have an insensitivity to the feelings of many thousands of wonderful people who have been working on this issue. And I like to qualify what I'm doing and take a step back with all humility. I don't mean to step on toes. Total respect for what everybody's doing. In the same hand, the same token, I hold very strongly of what I'm doing, and I want to put it in the right perspective. That was one reason I felt I had to say this lesson as a kind of an apology to all the beautiful people in the world who have been working for this same goal, and all with their ways of doing things. And it isn't proper to just come out and here's a new way without addressing them. That's that's indecent. And I apologize for that. So I want to address them in today's lesson. The second reason for today's lesson is somebody asked me another question, either Facebook or YouTube, I forget, to get a lot of questions. There was another question on one of the verses. People ask me all the verses. Usually it's the regular ones that back and forth, which I knew. This one I didn't really know. It's not important now which verse it is. That's not the issue. I'm sure you're all curious. I'm not going into it. But I looked into the verse that he was quoting, and I read all the regular commentators, and I didn't have a good explanation. I didn't really understand it. It doesn't matter, though. I realized it doesn't matter. There's something which I have from my training, which the world doesn't have. These discussions, it's not a yes or no, because I was raised with a level of humility that there are people before me, similar to the sensitivity to others who have come before me and been working on this. You know, who am I? Who am I? I want to qualify who I am in that regard. But regarding to understanding the depth of a verse, so this specific verse, all the commentators defer themselves. I'm talking about all the generations. They defer to our tradition and our oral Torah of what the verse means. And I mean, what could be better than that to an observant, practicing Jew? And this I know with all the discussions going on, this is what Principal Rabbi Singer always talks about. We can't bring in our oral Torah. And I get that. I get that when we're discussing verses, so you want to prove it from the verse itself. I understand. But at the end of the day, it doesn't even register in our heads that it's a question if the only explanation of the verse is according to our oral Torah. I mean, this is our tradition. From the time the verse was written, this is what it meant. So we have to take a look now and say, what do I think it means? I don't understand it. I don't like any of these commentators. Who are we? Who do we think we are? It's really this concept It's what I call the blog generation. Something I've come to realize this past year. I grew up for many years with very high level observant Jews, big rabbis. And there is a problem of a narcissistic complex which comes with the territory. When you are actually on a very high esteemed level, by nature, you'll tend to look down at others that their knowledge isn't the same. It's a challenge, it's a battle of not looking down at others, which many have fallen, and they do look down at others. But what I've seen this past year, it just blows my mind. I've seen in people that there is no reason for their narcissism. They actually don't even know what they're talking about. They're writing books and teaching lessons, and everything they're saying is just a bunch of baloney. It just isn't true. You're not trained. You don't know what you're talking about. You can find this books on medicine, on nutrition, and in the Torah, loads and loads of books coming out. I'm reading, I'm just, whoa. Where did you go to school? Where are you getting your information from? I'm sure any professional will know exactly what I'm talking about. How do you write a book on nutrition when you don't know anything? How do you write on medicine? You don't know anything. You don't know what you're talking about. And this is true in Torah also. Who is the authority on what the verses mean? All our discussions. So someone else on Facebook made this point. I mean, we're discussing what I think, what you think. Someone came to me last week in the community here, Mekwan, with a question from today's modern Bible criticism. How could it be? Where did they get the olive oil from in the desert? Where did they get the coins from? I mean, these questions are interesting, but it's not really a question. We don't have these questions. It's it doesn't matter. I mean, we look into it, but it must be that something it says in the Torah isn't true. I mean, what are you talking about? No. It's a different attitude of deference. Now, today's topic is called the confused texts, which is a common discussion. This is really why I started the whole thing. All this arguing about texts. What does this mean? What does that mean? We need to have a sensitivity to those who are greater than us, which I failed with, and I'm recognizing now and I'm apologizing for it. There are many who are greater than me who have been working on this problem of the conflict resolution, and I defer to you. I'm not taking away from what you're doing. Keep up the good work, for sure. I'm bringing in a new element that you have not seen yet. You know, I had this same feeling once. I was by a Shabbos table. This was in Johannesburg. And the topic came up at the table about a different conflict resolution, marriage conflict resolution, one of the biggest topics in almost every household, where husbands and wife, you know, Mars and Venus, they're just, how do you deal with the issues? So I have what to say, obviously, and I was imparting some of my wisdom at the table. And there was a big rabbi there at the table who was very upset at me. And I realized afterwards why. He's like, who do you think you are? You're this young rabbi. I've been doing this for more years than you were born. And you're telling me about how to resolve marriage conflicts? No, this is how you do it. I realized, wow, you got to be careful. You have to show respect. People that have been working, dedicated their lives to helping in a certain way. You can't just say, you're all wrong, different way. Similarly, another time I was by a table with a doctor, and I was sharing the newfound recognition that I had after the cancer of how important it is to eat healthy. And this doctor was, he hit the roof. So what are you talking about? It's not true. Nutrition doesn't matter. Now, I think he's wrong, but he is quoting his medical books, and I think the Torah says not like him, and studies say not like him, but the truth is, who am I? And I realized that whenever you're talking to a professional, you have to be sensitive. In his mind, he has a certain level of knowledge. Who are you to come along and start telling him different. So that you need that humility and sensitivity when you're talking to people that, at least in their minds, are on a higher level. And certainly in today's generation, that everybody seems to be on a higher level in their own minds. You have to be sensitive to their feelings. I even said a lesson here, medical professional conflict resolution. I'm sure every medical professional who listens to that says, who does this guy think he is? So I apologize to everyone if there was any insensitivity. I don't mean it that way. With all due respect to every level of professionalism, everyone is doing good work. I commend you. Keep up the good work. I have an insight. I have many insights which I want to share with you that will help your work. Let's work together. There's something that people seem to be missing. This is not arguing with you. I'm adding to you. I'm not disrespecting you. I'm adding together. Let's take it all to a new level. Let's work together and bring it to a new level. Let's put it that way. I feel sometimes like Jeremiah. If anyone studies the book of Jeremiah, it really blows your mind. You have this guy as a teenager, and God tells him to go to Jerusalem and take on everybody. There was 3 levels of his challenge. He had to deal with the authority. It was illegal to speak against the idolatry. You're not allowed. Your life will be in danger. You want to speak out against what's accepted by the entire world. This is what we do. King said to do it. We have to do it. We have to serve these idols. That's how we relate to Hashem, by serving these idols. That's what they honestly believed. The authorities, not just the authorities. That itself is a tremendous challenge. His life was in danger. God says to Jeremiah, don't be scared. Don't be scared of the authorities. They're going to put you in severe pain, but they won't kill you. Don't you worry. You'll have severe pain, almost death, but not death. Don't you be scared of that. And if you're scared, you're going to be punished. Unbelievable. That's one challenge. He had another challenge. He had to go against all the rabbis. Can you imagine that? Who does he think he is? This young guy coming to argue against so many people who are greater than him? And Hashem says, no, don't be scared of them. Go and tell all the rabbis that they're making a mistake. You have a message from Hashem. It's a mistake. So Jeremiah is not, this is my opinion that you're wrong. He's giving you a message from Hashem. It says, Hashem says, you guys are wrong. And the third challenge, I don't know which one's bigger. They're all humongous challenges. Authority of the kings, the police, all the rabbis. That's, those are the opinions that we should respect. Who are you to tell those who know Torah, those who know God's will? They're saying we need to do idolatry. Who do you think you are? And the third challenge, which is just as difficult, I don't know which one's the highest, is dealing with public peer pressure, the public. To hear from every single person around you, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Everybody. They're all doing it. Everybody's doing it. Come on. How could everybody be wrong? Those were the 3 challenges that God prepared Jeremiah for, those 3 challenges. And the way to do it, he told them how to do it. He told them you have to use the power of imagination. Picture yourself as a wall, as an iron pillar, as a wall of copper, and a powerful hammer. These things, I have a whole lesson explaining how each one of these imaginations will help overcome the fear of emotions. That's how any therapist could tell you. In any case, let's leave that aside. Sometimes I feel that way, that I'm going into the world, and I don't mean disrespect. There's loads and loads of rabbis at a much higher level than me. Who am I? So when I started saying these lessons, I went to, I consider a rabbi a much higher level than I am, of Tovia Singer, and I asked him, is what I'm doing okay? Is it wrong or right? And he endorsed me, even told others to listen. So I'm not coming on my own. What I'm coming from, just to qualify myself, with all due respect and humility, What I'm coming from, everything I'm saying is a message. It's in the Torah. It's a message from Hashem. It's in the Torah. It says it. I'm not making anything up. I don't know why people aren't seeing it, but it says it. Many Jews have criticized my lessons. Why are you learning from Christians? I'm not learning from Christians. I'm learning from Hashem and the Torah. We're not learning the lessons. And I'm telling you from Hashem himself, all these lessons. Hashem teaches us lessons in life. If we don't learn it from the Torah, he teaches us in life. And he sent all this theology and Christians to bring out these lessons. It's clear to me. That's what's going on here. I had another discussion just this morning with somebody on Facebook, a different verse. Like, why, how can the Christians read it this way? It's clearly not what it says. And there is no answer. There's no intellectual argument. This is what our whole series is based on. These arguments over the confused text are not confused. No knowledgeable Jew is confused about these texts. They're in exact symmetry with the rest of Tanakh. It's a clear message from Hashem. The intellectual truth are with the knowledgeable Jews passed down generation after generation. The original Hebrew with our tradition of what it means. There is no question about that. And I could just ask that, the same way Rabbi Singer makes a joke about why God created the, whatever they're called, Christians should know how Jews feel. Christians should know how Jews feel. You're taking a text and you're changing it. I don't mean to argue. Let's go back a step. I'm not arguing about texts. There has to be mutual respect and recognition for what's going on here. The truth of what's going on in the world is the truth of understanding the texts of Tanakh. My goodness, the Jewish people have a tradition. They haven't stopped day and night studying the Word of God. We know what it means. Sometimes the words are only according to our old Torah. You won't have a clear way to read it otherwise, which is what happened this week. So that's not a problem. That's wonderful. This whole attitude of I need to understand from here and now. God revealed himself openly. We have prophets. We have people. We have a continuation of the tradition. We're not making it up. Intellectually, there is nothing to talk about. So it's very disturbing. So what is this argument about? My children, I see my children arguing. What are you arguing about? The whole discussion is moot. It's silly. There must be a point. There has to be a point. So how can they believe it? And as I explained to everybody, I told this fellow this morning, you can't argue with a Christian intellectually. I've had this discussion with Christians many times. The end of the discussion is, he says to the Jew, you're thinking with your mind, not with your heart. And they're right. We're thinking with our mind 100%. Intellectually, there's nothing to talk about. There's something wrong with the Jewish heart. All the Jews are going to be upset at me now. God says it, not me. We have something wrong with our hearts. We need to work on our heart, to work on it. The Torah tells you how. People aren't listening. So Hashem sent a message. One of the messages that what this lesson is about, one of the messages that we need to learn from this insanity of people, let it be from 1,000 years ago, it doesn't matter. People coming thousands of years afterwards and telling the Jewish people what the text really means? Come on. It's so disrespectful. Who do you think you are? Josh, who do you think you are? Intellectually, nothing to talk about. But we need to recognize that the Christian message, there's a message here which we need to learn from. When we all learn that message, then the insanity will stop. The message is what the Christians are doing in a very beautiful way. They're doing it wrong, but in a beautiful way of loving kindness. That has to be the pillar. How to have the loving kindness, they make mistakes. Where they direct the devotion, they make mistakes. They need the guidance of the Jews how to connect to God, how to connect to God in all of his revelations. Revelation of himself as the Father, as the Son, as the Spirit, as many other revelations. I'm saying a lesson today. You're all invited with Dan Barwell in Canada to talk about the Noahide Trinity. It's true. There are revelations of God, not in a human being, God himself. The truth that's in the Christian message, which Hashem tells us throughout the Torah, it says these things. People aren't listening. So that's the purpose of all these lessons. I don't mean to be insensitive to those working on resolution. I'm bringing in an aspect that you're not getting. As Jeremiah, there's a mistake going on. Please continue, but there's a mistake. As Jeremiah was telling them, you know, what you're doing is wonderful. Your connection to Hashem, your loving relationship with God that they had by the time, it's wonderful. But you guys are making a mistake. You're serving idols. God doesn't want that. They all thought you're supposed to. You're wrong. And I'm just bringing in, there's an element that everyone's making a mistake. I feel this way when it comes to eating healthy as well. You go around, it's an accepted thing by the multitude that we're allowed to put poisonous foods into our body. Why? Why is that okay? All the doctors, all the rabbis, and it's accepted by the world around us. It's an insanity. It has to stop. It slowly it will stop. Similarly, how to deal with illness, as we spoke about. What's going on in the world, this one says do that, do the other thing. And it could be sometimes you have to listen, as I said there. Who am I? I know medical, but I know what Hashem says. God tells us that illness is a result of not living with God in our lives. And the way to fix the illness is to live with God, which is very much through food, but it's much more with your emotions. Take care, have a healthy, happy life. Live with God. Physically, emotionally, intellectually, connect to God on all your levels, and there won't be sickness. If there is sickness, there's different ways to deal with it. So I speak about all these ways and what the purpose is in my resolution. And I don't mean that I know more than doctors. I don't. Listen to the doctors. But there's an element that everyone's missing. In Israel, I was by a wonderful doctor, a healthy doctor, Eastern medicine, other, energy healing, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The point is, before he does anything, he prays to God to help him. Now, I ask every single medical professional, why aren't you doing that? That's what we do. Do you really think you're the one who heals? And God says, not like that. God says he's the one who heals, not the doctor. We need to recognize that. So, on one hand, I am apologizing for being insensitive. On the other hand, I'm qualifying what I'm saying is not putting you down. It's bringing an element that the world is missing. Keep up the good work. But let's learn there's a mistake going on. Let's channel our energies, channel those same energies you're using. Instead of fighting over the text and fighting over who's right, let's learn the messages that God is telling us. What is it all about, this blood atonement? What is that? What is this crucifixion? What is the little lamb? That's all the lesson said. What is it about? Don't just argue what it says, because what it says, the Jews are right. It's just silly. But the message, the Christians are right. There's a message here. They're not getting it themselves, because God's giving the message, not them. Let's all get together and rethink it. We'll end on a happy note. The reason why Jeremiah was able to take on the entire world, sometimes I feel like I'm doing the same, just taking on the world. Who am I? The answer is, I'll take this the right way. The answer is that Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Some people know what it means, some don't know what it means. I'll tell you what it means. A frog, we are taught that our Jewish tradition is the only creature that makes noise day and night. And a true Torah scholar is compared to a bullfrog. It means that in knowledge is a Talmud, a bullfrog the size of 60 houses, a frog, to have the knowledge of the entire revelation of Hashem of how to live. Jeremiah, my friends, was a bullfrog. He was a Torah scholar. He had clarity from Hashem of the truth. When you know the truth, that light throws away all the darkness. You can have all these powers of darkness. A little light takes it all away. And that was what Jeremiah came into Jerusalem, and he could go against 3 levels of darkness because he had the light. And everything I'm sharing with you is the light of Hashem in the Torah. It's the light. And Hashem is, please, as I ask you, if anyone has any respectful question where you think what I'm saying is against what Hashem says in the Torah, please tell me, and we'll discuss it. But honestly, I believe firmly this is what Hashem is telling us, and today's lesson is another lesson about this topic, which one of the major things the world needs to fix, which is confused text. I call it confused text. People should listen. The purpose of all these confused texts is humility. What I'm doing now, I'm expressing humility to those who know more than you. What makes you the authority? What gives you the right? You can't do it on your own. You need to have authority. I was given authority for what I'm doing now. I was ordained as a rabbi. My teachers told me that I can teach to others, tell them Jewish law. And even in these lessons, I got a right. You can't. Who are you? Who are you to tell others? You need to have the right. That's a very important lesson when it comes to the confused texts. Who's bona fide to explain what the text means? It's not whatever you feel, whatever you think. Who are you? How about the one who wrote it? What did he say it meant? What did his students understand it? What was the tradition of what they meant? The Jews have that. We know what the text means. Let's speak to everyone with respect for who they are, not lack of respect to anybody. I apologize again for any insensitivity to respectful people. On the other hand, I demand also certain respect towards me in your questions. Speak respectfully, as every person should, and to recognize there is truth in what I'm telling you. The message is full of truth and of light. And please, everyone, take it to heart. Think it over again. Speak to your interfaith councils and bring everybody to the truth of it all. Not accepting everybody for who they are with mistakes. No, there's only one truth, and that's the Torah. That's what God revealed, and the Christian message we need to learn from. I hope this lesson is taken well, and I'm looking forward to everybody's feedback. Have a good day. Have a good Shabbos.